Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Good evening, I'm Cody Johnson with the iFIBER 1 News Weekend Edition for Friday, December 14th. Tonight, we look back at the top stories from throughout the week and a couple of viewers' favorites. In sports, we'll take a look at some news in the NFL, college football, and basketball, and give you a rundown on what's happening over the weekend. Our spotlight story tonight is part 2 in a series on homeschooling here in Grant County by RYAN LANCASTER. And we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Today's top story is a tragic one. Our nation has been reflecting on the horror of a gunman who decided to kill 26 people in a Connecticut elementary school.
As a country, we have been through this too many times. Whether it's an elementary school in Newton or a shopping mall in Oregon or a temple in Wisconsin or a movie theater in Aurora or a street corner in Chicago, these neighborhoods are our neighborhoods, and these children are our children. And we're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this, regardless of the politics. This evening, Michelle and I will do what I know every parent in America will do, which is hug our children a little tighter, and we'll tell them that we love them, and we'll remind each other how deeply we love one another. But there are families in Connecticut who cannot do that tonight, and they need all of us right now. In the hard days to come, that community needs us to be at our best as Americans, and I will do everything in my power as president to help. Because while nothing can fill the space of a lost child or loved one, all of us can extend a hand to those in need, to remind them that we are there for them, that we are praying for them, that the love they felt for those they lost endures not just in their memories, but also in ours. May God bless the memory of the victims. And in the words of Scripture, heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families scarred by this tragic event. It was a tough holiday for a few people here at home. In Ephrata, one family lost its home to a fire. Here with the story is RYAN LANCASTER.
3 adults safely evacuated a single-family home that caught fire in Ephrata Monday afternoon at about 3:15.
I think the house. Fire truck's on their way. All right, we'll just have you guys clear the street right quick.
Ephrata city officials say a preliminary investigation indicates the fire broke out in the attached garage of the residence, which is located in the 1600 block of C Street Southwest. Crews with the Ephrata Fire Department arrived on scene to find heavy and rapidly growing flames engulfing the rear of the home and the garage. Ephrata firefighters were joined by units from Grant County Fire Districts 7 and 13 in containing the fire before it spread to closely neighboring homes. The residence itself was a total loss. A total of 23 firefighters were involved in battling the fire, and the last units cleared the scene at about 7:30 Monday night. Fire officials say it will take several days to complete an investigation into the cause of the fire. Neighbors at the scene reported hearing a loud bang before seeing smoke and flames. Residents were heard yelling, "There's oxygen in there," as emergency crews started to arrive, but officials said at this stage in the investigation, nothing points to either a cause or an acceleration of the fire due to oxygen. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Ryan Lancaster reporting.
And we are thankful that their family is safe and will be together for the holidays. An old cliche holds that for every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. The Columbia Basin can rest a little easier after the man found guilty of kidnapping and raping a Big Bend Community College student was sentenced in court. Here with the story is Ryan Lancaster with video footage by Robert Ryder.
34-year-old Gerald Thomas was sentenced to 28 years to life on Thursday in Grant County Superior Court. Thomas was accused of forcing a 19-year-old woman into her car at knife point in a campus parking lot at Big Bend Community College last July. He then tried to steal money with her ATM card before driving her to the sand dunes near Moses Lake and raping her. Thomas was previously convicted on charges of kidnapping, rape, robbery, assault, and witness intimidation. When Superior Court Judge Evan Spurline asked if Thomas wanted to address the court, the defendant alluded to his past drug use and said he was, quote, very, very sorry I hurt someone. It's bad, unquote. Detective Dan Dale spoke on behalf of the Washington State Patrol, saying the brutality of the attack astonished everyone who worked the case. The victim's mother also spoke about the attack, asking the court to impose the maximum sentence for Thomas.
I asked the court today to take into consideration that my daughter, who's never even gotten a speeding ticket, was given a life sentence without having committed a crime.
The victim herself also spoke up, saying she had chosen to be with one person for the rest of her life, a choice Thomas had taken away from her. She told the court the attack had shaken her faith and said she no longer believes there is a God. She also called Thomas a subhuman and said, quote, I was strong before this, but now I will forever be ruthless, unquote. Grant County Prosecutor D. Angus Lee said he hopes the stiff sentence imposed on Thomas gives at least some comfort to the victim and her family. Upon completion of his 28 years in prison, the defendant will be examined by an indeterminate sentence review board. If he's deemed not to be ready for release, he will serve additional time. If Thomas is ever released from prison, he will be under the supervision of the Department of Corrections for life. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Ryan Lancaster reporting.
This week, the Moses Lake Irrigation and Rehabilitation District held an election for a board member to replace outgoing Rich Archer. Here with the story is Ryan Lancaster with video footage by Robert Ryder.
Many ratepayers in the Moses Lake Irrigation and Rehabilitation District turned out in person last night to cast their votes for the next board director. The election was held from 1 to 8 p.m. at 211 North Elder in Moses Lake. Moses Lake business owner David Skog and former Grant County Undersheriff Ken Kernan are competing for the seat now held by Rich Archer, who opted out of a run for re-election. Preliminary counts put Skog in the lead today with about 1,220 votes to Kernan's 620. The numbers of walk-in votes came in at about 570 below last year's election between Mick Hansen and Bill Bailey. This year's election is far from over, with hundreds of absentee ballots still to count. MLIRD officials plan to certify total tallies on Monday. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Ryan Lancaster reporting.
If you're looking for something a little bit upbeat this weekend, an old-fashioned Christmas is being held Saturday in Quincy at the Pioneer Church on the grounds of the Ryman Simmons House. This is the 7th year for the event, which begins at 6:15 p.m. The band All Strings Considered is performing on the church's restored 1885 piano. A traditional service will include Christmas carols, a reading of The Night Before Christmas, and the biblical Christmas story. The Christmas tree will be lit and refreshments served in the Ryman Simmons House after the service. People are encouraged to bring cameras. With snow on the grounds of roads are getting a little bit dangerous, Grant County Sheriff Tom Jones said there were 30 slide-off accidents and another 16 collisions yesterday alone. He says the best advice for driving in bad winter weather right now is to not drive at all if you can avoid it. He said people should wait until after the snowplows have run and make sure to give yourself extra time to travel and make sure you give yourself extra room to stop. Drive slower and be prepared for the chance of getting stuck in the snow. Make sure you have a charged cell phone and maybe take blankets with you. Using your car engine to keep warm could lead to carbon monoxide poisoning. The State Department of Corrections is looking for more people with arrest warrants. Each of the people you see here have warrants for their arrest and are wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these individuals, the DOC asks you not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. We'll be right back after these messages with the latest from our iFIBER 1 Weather Center.